got probably a good 200 pounds of band tension with whatever the hell this represents, because this whole cage weighs a bunch, and then this is an extra 110 pounds. So it's not like anything crazy heavy, but probably represents 300 pounds or so at the top, maybe more. I put this chunk of wood down here because I'm only lifting off the pin because I'm using my hands. On this machine, when you use your hands, it takes away your ability to like move this out of the way. So rather than try to figure that out, just picking straight up. We're gonna do a triple and doing some dynamic effort stuff. So kind of here we go. We're going back to the beginning, going back to the conjugate system. There we go. So doing some triples there, and what I'll do is I'll do maybe about 3 or 4 sets with the handle, and then I'll switch to the belt and do a little bit more traditional belt squat. But I just figured it was already set up like this when I walked in today, and sometimes I'm always like, hey, that's a sign to just go do that. So that's what we're doing. Working on some hops right here. And then rest a little bit. Kind of the hard thing with when you're training for like power and speed, you got to rest a bunch. As always, it's nice to get outside, so probably in between some sets today I'll get outside as well. So now I'll just work on a left leg hop, pogo hop, 5 seconds. Right leg. And these are just casual. This is like first set of the day. Grab a rope flow it. This is kind of old school speed deadlift type thing. This setup is really nice though, because it's like more of a partial range of motion. I don't really have to worry about my form, you know, coming all the way from the floor and trying to figure out all that stuff off the ground. Although that stuff is good to figure out, but this is kind of keeping me more in an upright position where I would be if I'm running, right? Use this crack as a thing to hop over. Just a couple that way, a couple forward and backward. If this was on a different day and I wasn't about to, like, I'm gonna do some faster stuff on the treadmill, not crazy fast or anything, but if it was a different day where I was maybe working on conditioning, I would be jumping for a lot longer. But I just don't want any like systemic fatigue. Easy stuff. Keeping her simple. By the way, MBSlingshot.com. We got some of our new stuff on there, some new gear. So if you want to check it out, we got shirts, we got hoodies, we got crew neck, we have Within You brand, we have Slingshot, and we have some that say Mark Bell Strong on them as well that you guys might like. And of course, we have your strong shirts that you guys always liked for a long time. And then I'm also going to bring back some power shirts as well pretty soon. So be looking for some of that to be coming up on the website pretty soon. And thanks for everybody who ordered the gripless straps. They're gone, man. We don't even have one. Rogue Fitness wants to sell them, and we don't even have one that we can measure or sample out to them. So probably take about 3 weeks and it'll be back up on the website pretty soon. All right, single leg. Try to get up on the toes. Sometimes you go to do this stuff and you're like, damn, I kind of stink at that. But that's kind of the whole point, is to do these things Ryan and I, a few weeks ago, did a 1 minute hop, just stand on one leg. And we went back and forth and forward and backward and mixed it up a little bit. Man, try that out for a minute. Your whole foot will get on fire. I think it's a really cool method though. I'm not sure who created it or who came up with it, probably the Russians somewhere. But I got it from Bill Parisi Speed School. He does it with a lot of athletes, and he said, hey, whatever's on fire is your weakness. Because some people are like, man, my shin is completely on fire. Other people are like, man, my toes or my ankle. So it's a good diagnostic test to do. Adding some weight on these squats, so protect yourself before you wreck yourself. These are the raw sleeves. We also make slingshot knee sleeves in addition to strong sleeves. The strong sleeves are the strongest, most supportive. The slingshot sleeves are next because they are similar in thickness to the strong sleeves, but they don't have as stiff of an overlay jersey on them. So but they're longer than these. They're like twice as long as these. These are the most pliable of all of the sleeves that we sell. And I made these with the intent of like, this is like accessory bodybuilding, but yeah, maybe you're going a little heavier on a movement and you just want a little bit of protection. That's kind of what these are for. But if you want maximum protect, then you go strong sleeves. But these also kind of help you to look at your muscles, which a lot of times when you're wearing, if you wear a knee sleeve that goes all the way up to here, it's covering up like a lot of your quad muscle. And that can be annoying, and that's something that I found to be annoying for myself, so that's why I created these. I was talking with Dante Treadmill one time. Dante did DC training, dog crap training. He knows a ton about training. And he and I were just going back and forth, and he was like, he's like, the greatest thing ever is just to throw on some elbow sleeves, knee sleeves, and a belt and train a little heavier and harder than normal. And I couldn't agree more. It's like really great statement. So those of you looking to kind of get a little extra out of your training, maybe take a moment a couple times a week and throw on some sleeves, elbow sleeves, knee sleeves. These are the strong elbow sleeves in here. Throw on an elbow sleeve. It does take a second. It takes a minute to like wiggle them on, and they're going to be a little tight and restrictive at first. It takes a little bit of a learning curve with them, but you're going to bench more. You're going to be able to overhead press more. You're going to be able to do more weight on everything. You'll be able to do more weight more comfortably. You'll be able to do more reps and more sets a little bit more comfortably. And when you're done with the workout and you go home and you are licking your wounds, so to speak, your wounds will be a little less. I can't assure you that you won't have any, but they'll be a little less than normal. And these are nice because you can do athletic shit with them, which I'll just show you right now. One thing I really like about jumping is you can kind of tell when you do it wrong. That one I just landed so much more onto my right side. It's like, oh, that shit wasn't a good idea. Powerlifting is an act of patience. Strength is not cultivated overnight. It takes many days, weeks, months, years. From everything I've ever seen, it pretty much takes about a decade to be really good at powerlifting. I've seen a couple people get pretty good at it in about 7 years, but even those people didn't really perfect it until it was about a decade. About 10 years. There's a lot of things that take 10 years, right? I mean, if you have a goal to be a brown belt or a black belt, it's like a decade of your life. There's some guy at some school who did it in 5 years or something crazy, but it's about a 10-year endeavor if you go a normal amount of times and have your normal rate of injuries. Probably takes about 10 years. Now, conversely, when it comes to having good aesthetics, I've seen people I've seen people make some really outstanding progress when they're young, 17, 18 years old, and 3-4 months of training, and you could be so shocked at the type of progress someone can make. They're not going to be elite level bodybuilder in that time, but that's pretty damn cool. Last set, best set. This is some old school Westside barbell shit right here. I mean, we didn't really do it with the belt squat that I recall, speed work with the belt squat. Belt squat was usually accessory. Regular box squats were usually what we did for dynamic effort stuff. But I really like the belt squat. I mean, I'll probably, other than some regular box squats here and there, I probably never do a regular squat ever again, like regular barbell back squat ever again. It's mainly just because it's hard for me to fit under a bar the right way. It's always been hard. Like even when I was squatting my strongest weights, you always saw me with my hands way out wide, right? So that was always a challenge. And in training, I always use specialty bars. I just think they're superior. So it's not so much a dysfunction. It's not like I can't squat. I could squat, I could work on it, and I could bring back just a regular squat. But I just don't see any reason to with inventions like this. And the specialty bars, they're just great. They've been around for 30, 40 years. Safety squat bars, giant cambered bar. I just have always felt a transformer bar by Chris Duffin. I think those are all, in my opinion, they're better options. There's some sports where you can't get away with using those things. So like Olympic lifting, they got to kind of use a regular bar. They need to get proficient at front squats and back squats. Powerlifting, I got away with not using a regular bar, but a lot of other powerlifters don't really even barely know that that's an option for them. It could have less wear and tear on those people that are maybe having negative feedback in the elbows and stuff like that. This is powerlifting right here. That's why a lot of powerlifters and the older guys in the gym, they just have that giant bag with them. It's like a hockey bag. And they have the icy hot, and they have their, amino acid formula. They got their creatine. They have baby powder. They have chalk. They have like an extra t-shirt, an extra tank top, an extra longer rag type top. They got a towel in there. Probably some Diana ball, if we're being honest. Protein bar in case they get hungry. A Rice Krispie treat in case they go hypo. Along with a bunch of other supplements and paraphernalia. But those guys have all that shit in there partially because they sit around like this in the gym for a while. And when you sit around like this for the gym for a while, you have nothing to do. So then you just like rummage through your bag for a pair of lifting straps that you're probably not going to even use. But you're also the guy that everyone can rely on in the gym. They can go to at any moment. Say, hey, do you have any lifting straps on you? And the old guy with the giant bag will always have everything. All right, we're doing a triple. Locked and loaded. Let's see, we can go a little further than that. So let's go here. Most of the time, just sort of what my workouts look like. Like I'm just kind of playing around. I went on a walk, run / sprint hill journey the other day. I was probably walking, or the whole thing probably took about an hour and a half. I just waited until it came to me. I was actually on the phone with my brother for the walking and jogging part. Kind of shooting the shit with him, just super casual. And then I did some light jogs / runs up a hill. and then it just turned into like full-on sprints. I did like 6 or 7 sets of sprints up the hill. I probably walked about 100. I probably walked about 300 yards in between each set. So there's a lot of rest in between each set of those 6 sprints. And then I finished with 2 sprints on like a flat surface. It just felt awesome. Felt really good. Just tried to be loose, tried to think less. You know, now that I'm learning some stuff, you know, I was thinking about like some front side mechanics for some of it, especially going uphill, really thinking about the kind of like driving the knee instead of just like lifting the knee, like kind of just driving the knee forward. But then as I got into it more, I tried like just think less, just run. When I was a kid, I used to be pretty fast. So like just go. And what feels right to me and what is probably supposed to be right are probably not the same thing, but I have to trust my intuition, and I think I have to meet it halfway. I have to meet my understanding of running and maybe another person's understanding of running for me with what I already know and what's already inside my body, right? What's already within me. I got to allow that to, so as I've been doing this stuff, I've been thinking of like being like a puppet master, you know, like I'm a puppet. And I'm thinking of like, how do I play these strings correctly? How do I play this body, this avatar, not anybody else's avatar, but this one here? How do I play with this the best way for me? It's the best way for me to keep this moving the right way. What's the best way for me to explode? What's the best way for me to run and feel good with what I'm doing? And something I learned is I actually like to have my feet kind of propel behind me a little bit more than what you typically see from the really high level sprinters. A lot of them are, I mean, Bolt's feet are going flying behind him for sure. But he also is, he's also really driving his leg, and he's a hard person to follow because he's the greatest to ever do it. But in my head, I think more like Bo Jackson. Bo Jackson's feet would come up more in the back. And maybe just because I loved Bo as a kid, maybe I tried to adopt that running. Obviously slower, but I'm just having fun with it. It just feels really good to me. And the other day when I went to run, something really clicked. Like, hey, you need to listen to yourself a little bit more than the outside influences. Because the outside influences are great. I have coaches, I have all kinds of people that help me, and they give me great feedback. But I don't even know what they're talking about yet since I'm so new. Wouldn't be any different if you're doing jiu-jitsu or MMA. First couple weeks, months, and maybe even years, a lot of things won't make that much sense to you. But then after you do it for a while, all that stuff that your coach or mentor shared with you, then you're like, oh, now I get it. Here we go. So, you know, I can catch that jump and turn it into another jump, or the landing rather. You don't have to do a lot of these. I'm just going to do 3. You can play around with it. You can do it from further back. You can try to play with it a little bit. I really want to make a full jump and do an extra like 90 or 110, but I don't really need that. This is all like, I'm just getting used to all this stuff. So I'll just put the 55 on the one side because, again, this is all one piece. This is all one piece too. You know, a lot of people lose track of that, but like, don't let your OCD get the better of you. That's a joke, I'm just kidding. But like, you can put a 45 on the side here and be totally safe. You don't need a 45 on the other side. Some of these machines are like that, but you got to know which ones are that way. So anytime it's all one piece, then it's irrelevant whether you have more weight on one side than the other. And you'll know that. We love the WEC vest, but we are adding weight to ourselves. I don't necessarily need like more weight on me, but this is a way to get more weight on you, but still move really awesome because these because of the way this thing works. Here's how I put this on, by the way. There's a connector right there. So what I do is I just pull this and I just go right there. And I pull this, because David's got some thing where you go like that and then pull back, but only people that don't work out could handle that. So I put this here and here like this. People that don't actually train hard, never really train their shoulders or their chest, have all that weird sinewy mobility for some reason. So yeah, you know, it's kind of boring, like just jumping straight up in the air, but like this exercise is what it is. And I've actually been, maybe not the last couple days, but over the last several weeks, I've been just doing pogo hops randomly, like completely randomly, just a couple times throughout the day. I would say maybe 3 or 4 times throughout the day, just hitting some pogo hops, because you can do them like anywhere. And it's not as fun as maybe jumping on something or jumping over something, but it's still kind of cool. So here we go. And it's just good for your like metabolism, good for your calves, good for your Achilles. And it's a great practice to learn how to be able to jump. I actually have a little bit of a weird theory on jumping. I actually think that jumping can turn you into a Dorito build. I think it can help give you a V-taper, because all those basketball players, their body is like more, their torso is longer and their shoulders are wider, and they come down a little bit more like this. And I think a lot of it has to do with the impact forces of producing force into the ground and jumping. Most of the people nowadays talk a lot about driving into the ground, like really smashing into the ground. When I trained with Corey Schlesinger here recently, and Corey and I were running on the treadmill, I noticed that he was heavy-footed on the treadmill. And I asked him about it, and he was like, I'm trying to punch the treadmill. He's trying to punch the treadmill with his foot, so you can really load that spring. Not necessarily you need to be like heavy-footed. Not everyone's going to be that way. But you might find it helpful just to reverse your thinking about it. Like reverse your thinking about being like real light and floating from the ground into, I'm going to attack the ground. Again, I've told you guys so many times about what this does. These propulse things in here, they have a pop. There's a spring in here and a battery, and that battery is going, so it's going. I mean, I can literally feel this. This is so hard to describe what this is doing. It's very hard to talk about, especially with how loud everything is in here, but this thing, every time I go down and come up, it is going down and shooting back up. And it seems like it might be sort of like propulsing with me. If you can understand that, like when my feet are hitting the ground, this thing's being driven down, but as soon as I go to turn around and start to apply my force back upward, it's catching me. And depending on someone's speed, someone who's real fast might be able to outquick this thing a bit. And I don't know what the impacts of that would be. But someone that's slower is definitely going to be getting like a jolt upward, probably before they even left the ground, depending on the activity that you're doing. But yeah, it's just different. Okay, get that guy back in there. It's one of those things, you can't get it back the way you had it. What's that? What do they say? Always leave things worse than the way you found them. Even when you watch high-level sprinters, when they do like mechanical type activities, when they do drills, you see them get pretty stiff. So I learned a lot by watching that a few weeks ago. I watched a bunch of people do their drills. And then what I saw, as they combine the drills together, is where you really started to see the athleticism. But they were doing like A skips and B skips, and just all kinds of different sprinting drills. And they looked kind of robotic on some of them. And I was like, I already kind of look like that. So it was kind of helpful to me to see. And I think they look that way because they're trying to be so intentional with the movement. But I need to kind of go the opposite way. I need to go like more in the direction of being able to like loosen up a little bit more. But over time, you know, it'll just continue to get better. Especially the more I learn my body and what feels right for me, the easier it will be. But some people are like, hey, why do you run like you got a stick up your ass? Well, number one, I do have a stick up my ass. I think it's still there. And number two, my body's just tight. Like my quads are pretty tight. And so when the quad is tight and I go down here like this, and I go to have this leg go behind me, it doesn't want to like travel back too far behind me because all of this is tight. The hip flexor area is tight. The hips are tight. Internal rotation isn't great on either side. And so what I end up with is, you know, you end up with a foot that's kind of spun out a little bit. And then you end up with a stride that's going to be kind of short to sort of protect. And then I'm going to cycle through the next one. And it's going to look kind of stiff because it's like part of my body wants to just walk. And part of my body's like, no, we should sprint. And the other part's like, no, we shouldn't. And so eventually, hopefully they'll intersect at some point and it'll just get smoother and smoother over time. The treadmill is at 7 on the speed and 20 on the incline. And this one is also a hold. So a hold just means I hold onto the thing and I try to really pump my knees up in kind of like an unrealistic way. Like I'm not going to be able to get my knees up that same way normally. But I am finding for myself even that when I am running, that pulling my knees or you know, really driving my knees is very, very helpful. It's a really helpful cue for me for where I'm at. For some reason, maybe just because my legs are like a little bit heavy, they just like kind of lag behind me, you know, and I just like lean forward and like sort of jog fast rather than sprint. And so it's all a work in progress. 8 seconds. When I'm running outside and doing like hills and stuff, there's so many variables outside that's really kind of cool. Here in Davis, we don't have a lot of variation on the hills. They're like just like long-ish hills, and you might find an incline that's about this steep. Probably not. Probably more like 15 on the grade. But the variation is nice, and trying to climb up the hill is a lot of hamstring for me. So it's like I'm doing like 2 stairs at a time or 3 stairs at a time. So it feels like, and it's like, boom, you put that leg down, boom, you put that leg down. And you gotta just keep kind of cranking through. And the next day, my hamstrings are just like, holy shit. Whereas on the treadmill, especially with the programming of the Z-Tread, they're giving you like the just exact dose that you need. Nothing more, nothing less. When I go and do my workouts on my own, sometimes I'm giving myself a little too much and my hamstrings are just like obliterated. Then the next day when I go to bend down to grab something, I gotta be like this. Grab stuff like that. Because my hamstrings are so tight, I can't just like, you know, bend and pick something up like a normal person. There we go. Sometimes you gotta know when to call it. You know, it just wasn't feeling right. It felt like if I had to like run real hard, that I was gonna and maybe it's a little too much rest in between or something, but it just didn't feel right. So abandoned it, went down 1 mile an hour slower, and did it easily. So there we go. sprint workout for the day. Hopefully an accumulation of a bunch of those ends up turning into something. We'll see. Strength is never weakness, weakness never strength. Catch you guys later.